Sumavirishavaraini. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So, you wanted a little bit of a recap. 2 weeks and then you lose it, right? So now, okay. Now, how does the whole Tattva Bodha begin? It just starts very, very quickly, right? It starts by saying that you need to be prepared for even conducting this inquiry. So what is the preparation? 4 different types of things that you need even to begin to inquire into the nature of reality. Okay. So, Tattva Bodha itself is Bodha is the teaching of Tattva. It is of the. So, the fourfold in preparation was Nitya, Anitya, Vastu, Vivekaha. Basically, right? So that means what I am searching for is permanent happiness, and where am I looking for this permanent happiness in things which are impermanent. Okay? So in this process, I will never get what I am looking for. So that's the first. It's just logically you understand that all these things that I do, not that they are useless or anything. They are not calling them material. Please understand. Take out all these concepts in your mind, things are material and things are not good and oh, I'm in spirituality. Just objective. These things can give me this much, they can't give me more than that. That's all. Just being objective. Okay? So this is what we saw, Nitya, Anitya, Vastu, Viveka. The second is what? Iha, Amutra, Phalapogartha, Vairagya. Okay, Vairagya again doesn't mean, please don't think that it's detachment or anything. It just means not following. So seeing things as they are, what things that I pursue in this world, Iha and Amutra. Many people are committed to what? Life after this, so they want to go to better places, have better bodies, enjoy. But then again, what is the problem? Even if I go somewhere else, okay, I'm still there I'm within time and space, and I'm going to be limited. And the things that I enjoy somewhere else in the universe is again what? They are within time and space, so they are all still impermanent. And what I'm searching for is something which is a permanent solution to my feeling of what? Discontent. Right? So that means whether I'm searching through different means here, or I'm searching to do something, going some other place, it is not going to solve my problem. So that's where you say Iha and Amutra. Amutra means somewhere else. So this whole heaven going is not what Vedanta is talking about. So most of this humanity, when we talk about mostly the religions, we are all committed about life after here. So that means you as an individual going somewhere and enjoying better life somewhere else. Vedanta, when it is talking about moksha, it is not talking about hereafter, it is talking about here and now. Okay? Be looking at who you are, which is a pursuit of here and now and not hereafter. Okay? So this is where we say that you have a certain dispassion towards enjoying life here and hereafter. That is the second thing. The third thing is what we say Shama Damati Shatta Sampatti. Certain mastery over certain objectivity in your living, certain values. So that means we are not talking about not having emotions. Please understand. We are not talking about creating this thing of positive and negative. This is the biggest problem that human psyche has, because you have something that you think is positive and negative is something that you want to keep away from. But all that so-called things that you call negative is all there. The minute you try to shove it away, what happens? Does it go away? No. It stays there and it distorts your being, right? Distorts the way you look at things because you don't even acknowledge its presence. What we are trying to do is process every emotion, identify where there are distortions and undo those distortions by re-understanding. That's a very healthy process. Okay? What are the implicit assumptions with which I am living my life? Are they accurate or not? Look into it. And if they are distorted, what do? You undo that. You re-understand things correctly, and then after re-understanding things correctly, you change your behavior according to what you understand now and not continue to behave according to what you understood earlier. So that represents entire thing of Shama, Damadi, Shakta, Sampatti. Certain amount of resolution, certain amount of mastery, certain amount of ability to stay with a given subject matter for a length of time, see it from different points of view, to make sure that you understand it accurately and you don't carry your own ideas about what is being said based on your own imagination. Okay? So this is what is the preparation. And the fourth is mumukshutva. Okay? So that means let me now search for the freedom that I am searching. That this, in fact, everybody is searching for freedom, but the one now recognizes one thing, that if I am basically limited, there is no solution. Okay? Whatever is the intrinsic nature, you cannot do anything about. So if you are basically inadequate, basically limited, basically wanting in nature, then whatever little addition that you make is not going to change anything much. It will change something just maybe temporarily, but not as a permanent solution. So that means the only solution to my search for freedom is what? That I am already free. And if I am already free, then what is the nature of my pursuit? I need to know that reality. Okay? I need to re-examine the conclusions that I have about myself and re-understand who I am. Okay? So this is where these are the preparations. And because you understand that, then you will conduct self-inquiry. And what is Vedanta talking about, the nature of self? It is not talking about something small. It's not just saying, oh, have better attitudes, just think positively. It doesn't have these kind of simple advice to give you. In its vision, it says, Atma Satyam Tat Anyat Mithya Iti. That's a huge statement. Okay? So that means, what is Satyam and Mithya, you need to understand. Satyam is defined as that which has an independent existence. And Mithya is defined as that which has a dependent existence. Okay? So, we generally live our life thinking that this whole world is totally real. Okay? Everything is very tangible, everything is very real. But in fact, what Vedanta says is that it is Mithya. How do I understand Mithya? How do I understand that it has a dependent reality? Okay? So, as we did many times earlier, let's say this table, okay, our whole living is what? Thinking that this table is the reality. Okay? We think of it as the reality. What Vedanta says is that it is there, nobody is denying that it is there, but in terms of its absolute reality, you can't say that it's absolutely real. Why? Because if you say that this is table, and if I say it is wood, and if I say that let me take away the wood, you find the table, will you find an object called table if I take away the wood? Imagine that there was no glass, it was only wooden table. It says something very, very important. Okay? This table that we take it as really real, in fact has a dependent existence. It entirely depends upon wood for its existence. Later on, it's coming. Right now. Okay, so that means relative to the table, what is more real? That, so now table is mithya and wood becomes satya. Okay. Now, as Saloni says that now can I say that Vedanta says wood is the reality? No. Now the wood itself is what? Is it an independent reality or a dependent reality?
It's independent.
No.
It's
If
a
you know
very
physics, you will not say that it's an independent reality. This wood itself depends upon what for its existence? Soil. Then what else? Roots. Water. Right? So that means it depends upon it. Before it came to your living room, it was what, in form of a tree somewhere. Yeah, before that a seed. And before that what? Yeah. This is how things are, really. Right? So it has a dependent reality, means that this wood itself is what? It was nothing but a tree. A tree itself is what? Depending upon what? Water, for its soil, for its existence. So everything that is there in the universe, it all has a dependent reality. And it's, yes.
That you said is the most important. How would you explain it in one or two sentences?
Yeah,
Because
so
even
I'll
in
show
my
you.
notes, I've written it as this whole story that you told us.
Yeah.
So how do you sort of explain
Yeah,
it?
so now let us look. Okay. So now let's look at, in fact, the quantum physics has made what Vedanta is saying very easy to explain. Okay. Because they say that this wood is nothing but atoms. Atoms are nothing but particles. Okay. And then the quantum physics itself, today only in the previous class they were saying that we are, if until now, science was looking for that which is even another subtler material, which is the building block of the universe. And science can never find it. Okay? What is it? Something which is even more fundamental than particles or quarks is something that you can't find. Okay? And this is where actually what Vedanta says is that the final building block of the universe is not a matter, it is you. Okay? And what is this I that it is talking about? This is the whole inquiry. How can I be the truth of the whole universe? That's too big. Okay? So that means that you need to now ask yourself, who am I then? Because if I am this little individual, I certainly cannot be the truth of the whole universe. Okay? So this is where the whole inquiry into the nature of I begins.
Who am I and what is my relationship to the whole universe?
So that's where the inquiry begins. Because if I, according to the vision of Vedanta, I am the Satyam, the independent reality, and everything else in the universe, anything else, now you take planets, you take stars, you take sun, you take moon, you take trees, you take animals, you take everything is, you will find it is mithya. This physical body that you think is so real, is it satyam or mithya? Mithya. Why?
It's not permanent.
Yeah.
It's dependent on your age and on your health.
Exactly. In fact, this physical body is dependent upon cells. Without these billions of cells doing their job, the body cannot exist. In fact, there is no such thing called body without the cells. So it has everything, and whether it is a body of a human body, or it is a body of an animal, or it is aquatic creatures, it's all mithya. Okay. And you know that all these bodies are nothing but cells. And one cell you are not, you know it. You see it under what? Microscope. Right? Now if one cell is not I, billions of cells coming together, will it become I? You add non-I plus non-I plus non-I, does it become I? It can never become I. Okay? So this is where who you are is now much more than who you think you are. So that's where the inquiry into the nature of I begins. Because according to the vision of Vedanta, you are not this little body or anything. Okay? And as long as you think you are this little body, what? You're bound to feel limited. You're bound to feel what? Inadequate. You're bound to feel a lack. You can't but, because if you take yourself to be this body, how significant is this body in this vast scheme of the universe? You draw a map of the universe, your body will figure in the universe, map of the universe. What will be the place it will occupy in the universe? If you think you are this body, and this is what you are, who will you be? The map of the universe, where will be? So totally insignificant. So that means with that insignificant entity constantly trying to manipulate the world according to one's wishes is always in a losing game. Okay? So this is where, according to the vision of Vedanta, this whole process of fixing the world according to my wishes itself, that whole paradigm is negated as the reality about yourself. Because if you work within that paradigm, there is no solution. So this is where the whole inquiry into your true nature begins. And in order to tell you who you are, first it has to tell you what you are not. Why? Because you already have taken yourself to be something. So it starts by telling you that you are not this physical body. What is the logic that is given? I just give you the logic that these are cells and you are not the cell. During those times, there was no cell or there was no quantum physics, right? So they had to use their own model. So what is the model they use? They say that this physical body is made up of 5 elements. What are the 5 elements? Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apaha and Prithvi. Akasha is space, Vayu is air, Agni is fire, then Apaha is water and Prithvi is the earth. Okay? So what they say is not only your physical body, but my physical body and the physical body of any little creature that you see on this earth, it's all made up of 5 elements. And you know very well that each, are you air? No. Are you water? No. Are you fire? No. So when 5 things come together to form a physical body, it doesn't become 5. Okay? So that is the first thing that one understands, that who I am not. That is a correction of a mistake. It's a very fundamental, because you say, oh now what difference does it make? Before I thought I was body and now I think and I understand I'm not a body. What difference does it make in the way that I live? So much of our fear. Okay? I just met one girl, she was suffering, I mean her father passed away some 9-10 years ago and she still carries such a strong memory. Okay? This mortality, people, our loved ones going, it's a huge burden that we all carry. So if we think that individuals are only the physical body, then with the going of the physical body, first of all of those ones which are gone, we carry a lot of sorrow. Then so much fear about those which are going to go. So much of life is lived in fear, anxiety, sorrow, because of our total identification with the physical body. Okay? So one thing is, you can say, okay, now in Vedanta class I understand that this physical body is not I, but the minute you go out and what, that association with physical body is so strong, and all your decisions and all your feelings and all your emotional life is guided by that connection to the physical body. So therefore, it seems as though Vedanta is only a theory, it hasn't worked. What do you need to do?
To understand the
Implications of this inquiry, right? And how that inquiry then has to transfer into your day-to-day living and day-to-day assumptions. Otherwise, you have two different, one person who comes to Vedanta class and understands some facts, and the other one who goes out there and lives exactly as before. So there is a disconnect. Bridging that disconnect is something which is, that's why Vedanta takes time. To assimilate Vedanta and undo all the implications and undo all our programming, which is based on wrong understanding of realities, that takes a while. Okay? So what we say is, you are free from, you are not physical body. Then you are also free from what? You are not the subtle body. What is a subtle body? What did we see was a subtle body?
Our senses, speaking, hearing, action.
Okay, 5 organs of action. So that means there is one thing which is a physical hand, the other one is what? The capacity of the hand to move. This is what, just by looking at my hand, you have no idea whether it actually can move or not. So this is what we call subtle. You can see the physical eye, but you have no idea how much those eyes can see. So this is what we call the 5 sense organs, 5 organs of action, Pancha Prana. What are the Pancha Prana?
Eyes,
The
ears,
pranas.
smell, sight, hearing.
These are sense organs.
No.
These are sense organs.
Elimination and
Circulation,
elimination,
Digestion,
digestion.
breathing. So all that is also not I. Okay? That this, and also the subtle includes what? The mind also.
Mind and intellect.
Mind and intellect. Okay? So all this that you thought you were, your entire identity is what? Either with reference to your physical body or with reference to your subtle body. So here it says, this subtle body you are not. So why are you not the subtle body? What is the logic? This subtle body is also made up of these 5 elements. That we say they are subtle 5 elements. Okay. So what are Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apaha and Prithvi? So now where is the connection? Why should I even believe that my subtle functions are connected to 5 elements?
Because you breathe and that's air.
Exactly. Right? So there is a connection. Because the nose is what? Enabling you to breathe. And then it takes the air in and makes the whole thing function. Right? So there is a connection between 5 elements and your sense organs. Don't think that you are just two totally different things. There are forms out there, and what do you have? The eyes to capture those forms. There are sounds, and what do you have? Ears. There is water which represents taste, and you have what? The tongue. Okay? So that means whatever the world is made up of, which is outside, is different permutation and combination of these 5 elements. And your capacities with which you can interact with the world also are made up of what? Those 5 elements. So therefore, even the subtle mind that you think you are so connected with is something which is nothing but different permutations and combinations of 5 elements. So that is what you are not. Okay. Now, the question still comes that how? I'm not the physical body and mind, you are not the physical body and the subtle body, you are not the physical body and subtle body. So how is it that this physical, somehow my eye seems to be connected to only one physical body and mind. Your eye seems to be connected to only your body and mind. So why is it that we all come with connection to only one given physical body and mind? Right? Because the way I have to experience my physical body is not what you are doing, right? Because I have to experience my pains that you don't have to experience. Right? I have to experience my emotional makeup, you don't have to. Okay? So why is it that so many different bodies are there in the first place, okay, and why my eye seems to be connected to only one given set of body and mind sense factors. So this is where we talk about what we call the causal body. What is the causal body? That is, so up to now we have done physical body and subtle body. Now we are looking at the causal body. Okay. So here the question is, what is this causal body? Karana, Sharira, Ki. That's where we were, right? Yeah.
Looking for, yeah.
End of page 5.
Kind of thing.
So here he says, Adirvachyaha Anadi Avidya Rupam Sharira Dvayasya Karanamadanam Sat Swarupa Jnanam Nirvikalpaka Rupam Yadasti Tat Karana Sharira. So what is the Karana Shariram? Here he says Sharira Dvayasya Karanamatram. So it is a cause which gives you that physical body and that subtle body. Okay. So what are the causes? So this is where we say there is this whole theory of what we call the cause and effect. This cause and effect is very critical to understanding why me and my relative place in the universe. Okay? So what it says is something very, very simple. Okay? Just as in this universe that we live, how many laws are there which govern our existence? Laws of gravity. What are the other laws? Laws of thermodynamics. Laws of what?
Cause and effect.
Cause and effect, right? So how does this cause and effect, how does it affect my life?
See that you don't have to
So,
look
yeah,
which comes
exactly.
first and then
The minute I as a human being am endowed with what we call free will. Okay? What is free will? Free will means I can do it, I need not do it, and I can do it differently. In Sanskrit, it is said as Kartum Shakyam, Akartum Shakyam, Anyatha Va Kartum Shakyam. At any given point in time, you have that free will. Okay? I can lift it, I need not lift it, and I can lift it and drink from here. That choice everybody has. Now, along with that choice also comes a certain understanding of how the universe is. Everybody knows that I don't want to be hurt and others don't also want to be hurt by me. I don't want to be lied to and what? Others don't want to be lied. I don't want to be cheated, others don't want to be cheated. So we not only have free will, we also have what? Certain understanding that should guide the free will. Now, does it then mean that we always follow all the things, the knowledge of what is the right choice? If we all followed, world would be what? Yeah, much better place to live in. So that shows that in spite of knowing what is the right thing to do, I don't always do what is the right thing to do. So why that discrepancy? Why the discrepancy between what I do and what I know?
is the non-recognition of I and the universe.
Exactly. So that means that generally what happens is that because I made this basic mistake about who I am, I think I'm limited and I'm constantly trying to do what? Fill that lack. So that fill the lack through what? Different objects. So those objects that I think are going to give me the feeling of fullness that I'm searching for, they become so important for me that I want to get them at any cost. Because I think my fulfillment lies in those objects. So if I think that my fulfillment lies in those objects, and if I have to cheat a little bit to get those objects, what will I do?
You break these unsafe.
Yeah. Because you attribute your fulfillment to those objects, and that means you feel that you will be complete with those objects. That means you want those objects at any cost. So that's why you are willing to sacrifice what you understand to be the right behavior. Okay? Now, what Vedanta says is, now you have used your free will. In choosing, you have used your free will, and what you have done, you have gone against certain universal values that you understand exist. Now, what Vedanta says is that there is a cause and effect law. You think that you get away, you think that you can get away from it, but here he says the laws of cause and effect you can never get away from, because they are just laws of gravity. Laws of gravity, can you say, oh, I don't believe in laws of gravity and I'm going to walk out of here? What will happen?
Fall down and
You
break
will
your leg.
fall and you will break. Can you say the laws of gravity are cruel because now I've broken my leg? Can you label the laws cruel because now you have fallen and you have broken your leg? Okay? So that shows something very, very fundamental. It shows that the minute you are given the understanding of how the universe works in your psyche, and if you disregard that, and you go against that, thinking that what?
I can get away with it.
You can get away with it, then there is no such thing called getting away with it. So this is what we say. For every action that we perform, they say there are two types of result. One is what we call the seen result, and the other one is unseen result. In Sanskrit, you call it Drishtaphalam and Adrishtaphalam. Drishtaphalam is the minute you go against certain universal values, there is the whole law, the mechanism of the law is such, it immediately gives you an instantaneous feedback about the nature of your action. So that means if you go against it, what happens? There is a feeling of guilt. Don't think you live in a universe which is dead universe. It's constantly at work. It's dynamic universe. It is an intelligent universe. There are mechanisms in place which they talk to you through certain experiences, and we keep on choosing to ignore it. We don't pay attention to it because we are so focused on what we think is the universe, and we are not open to listening to what the signs that the nature gives us. So the Drishtaphalam happens where immediately you have this feeling of guilt, you have at times feeling of fear. Very often you fall in your own self-esteem because you know one thing to be right, and what happens? You don't do what you know to be right. Okay? So this is a huge cost. This is not an ordinary cost. This is only the seen result.
Oh, I looked at it wrong.
Yeah, this is only the seen result. This is an immediate feedback. Okay? Then, in addition to this seen result, what the laws do is also give you what we call the unseen result. The unseen result of a good action, in Sanskrit we call it punya. You understand? You all have heard punya, but you don't quite know what is punya. Right? And the unseen result of an inappropriate action is what we call paap. It's all very well defined. Okay? So that means that this given action, why do we call it unseen result? Because it will produce some situation in the future. If you've done something good, it will produce what?
good.
Some,
Good
yeah,
feeling.
some
Good.
comfortable, and how, in what form, you don't know. Somebody can have good result in form of more wealth, somebody can have good result in form of more intelligence, somebody can have good result in terms of high sensitivity to art, to music, to, it can manifest in so many different ways, and you are unable to connect that what is it, which action did I do in the past which is giving me this result. That's why you call it unseen result, because you are unable to connect. Okay, so this is what we say, punya. What is papa? Papa is it give you some kind of difficulty. Either the difficulty is in form of bad health or bad relationship, or it can manifest in so many ways. Or you can be very wealthy but you still don't have good interpersonal relationships. I mean, it can come in so many ways. We think that there are two categories of human beings. One is privileged and the other one is unprivileged. There is no such category. Because who you think are unprivileged, they have their own pleasures and they have their own pains. And who you think are privileged, they have equally their own pleasures and their pains. Nobody can escape that. Okay. So this is where we say punya and papa. So what we say is that there is this whole big account of your unseen result, which are what? Both punya and papa, which are there in your account. And they, you can't experience the result of all these different actions all at the same time. So within this whole big account, a given set gives you that given body and mind through which you can experience different pleasures and pains. So the causal body is what? All the karmas which are accumulated, which are yet to what? Give you experiences. In order to have experiences of pleasure and pain, you need body. Without body, you can't have experiences. And it keeps on giving you different bodies to experience the result of your own actions. Okay? Now, the best part is, for most of the people, this is the reality about yourself. You are this individual who keeps on going from one body to the other, who experiences the result, who not only spends karma but accumulates new karma and then just goes on. According to Vedanta, this causal body, you are not. So people have idea that when Vedanta is talking about, what they talk about soul and all that, when Vedanta is talking about Atma, it is not the same thing as soul or anything. Okay? What we talk about is, first of all, soul, we don't know what it means, I don't know. But what we talk about is Karana Sharira. Karana Sharira is the causal body, right? Which is the unseen result of your own actions are all accumulated, and they will start giving you different experiences. Not in this lifetime, but also in external lifetime. And the laws of the nature are such. Many people say, now how do I know that this law exists? That is a very, very common question people ask. Okay. So now, there are two very important supporting logic for this. The first is, now again, many scientific discoveries have actually really helped Vedanta, because when the Einstein's equation E is equal to mc square, it shows something very significant, and that is that there is no real death in the universe. There is no death in the universe. It's only what? Transformation from energy to matter and matter to energy. It's constantly transforming. That's what we are saying. We are constantly transforming, changing. There is no death in the universe. There is a transformation, true. The changes are there, but there is no death in the universe. That's the first logic. Okay. What is the second logic?
That every action has an equal and opposite reaction.
Yeah, that is also law. then every action has equal and opposite reaction. So we are saying something which is making sense. We are not talking about we are not talking about fatalism, we are not talking about any of that. We are talking about certain truths which you generally disregard, but they exist. This is in keeping with what is. Okay. Every action has opposite and equal reaction. And what is the time frame within which the laws work? Any law that you say, gravity. Does it have a time frame of 100 years, 50 years? It is along with the creation. So what makes you think that these laws of cause and effect will end when you end your one little physical life? That is totally unreasonable. No law works like that. Okay. The laws of nature are along with the creation and they continue to apply. These are all the supporting logic to say, and that also then gives certain validity. You want to make sense of the universe and you see nothing but diversity. And then you conclude, oh, the universe is either random or unfair, because why somebody is born like this and somebody else is born like that? These are the questions, perennial questions that we have. Yeah, which is working the time horizon within which the cause and effect work. They are what? Yeah, across lifetimes, and you are seeing it only from here, and it all seems skewed. And then you conclude what? Things are unfair, or things are random, or there is no order in life. So this is exactly all these re-understanding all these realities have a huge repercussion on how you're going to live your life. Because it's changing how you see yourself and how you look at the world and your role in it.
You also said something very interesting, that laws exist. We sometimes don't know about them until they discover.
Yeah. And they continue to apply and you are totally oblivious to that. So the whole teaching of Vedanta is to make you see some realities which you have been missing. Once you understand those realities, what will you do? You will realign your life in keeping with those realities so that you can have a better day. Because as long as you go on rubbing against certain, or you're oblivious or rubbing against laws, what will happen? You'll get caught in the process. Nobody can escape. So, the Karana Sharira. Now, the other question that very often people ask, okay, I understand that there are all these karma accounts which is going to give me many different bodies. What is the first karma? Very often.
Starting point.
Starting point. So this is where he's saying Anadi. Anadi means there is no starting point. Now, here again, we have to understand why there is no starting point. And this is again this first karma question is based on the assumption that the universe is linear. Linear means that there is a starting point and then it what? Continues to go on. Now that particular view of the universe itself is being questioned by the scientists. Vedanta has been talking about not linear universe but cyclical nature of the universe. What does it mean? It means something very important. This first karma question is similar to the question, who is the first father? You are there right now. And then what? You had a father, and then he had a father, and then he had a father. Who was the first father? The father cannot come without what? his father. So where do you do a starting point? It's impossible. Chicken and egg.
Yeah.
Tree and seed.
Tree and seed. For nothing in this universe you find a linear beginning. For nothing. Okay? So therefore, what we say is that there is cyclical nature of creation. And even that, for example, according to up to now, what they say is Big Bang is the origin of the creation. So now the question comes, what was there before Big Bang? What was there? Can you say it was nothing? No. Because if you say there was nothing, then how can something come from nothing? It becomes illogical. Okay? And if there was something, then what was there? So this is where we say that before the universe became manifest, it was there as an unmanifest. So that means this is what we mean by cycles of creation. And before it was unmanifest, what was it? Manifest. And before? Manifest. Unmanifest. So this is what we mean by cyclical nature of creation, where there is no beginning, unending. And this is, how do I know that there is this whole cycle of manifestation and unmanifestation? Everything that is, how do I know that before Big Bang there was this unmanifest?
Because matter is
Is yet
changeable, but it's constant.
Yeah.
It is bound to be gone.
Yeah, exactly. So that means it changes forms, but the potential is still very much present. Okay? Now, if you look at the so-called manifest universe, what will you find? You break down the manifest universe. You look at the time. The minute which was manifest 1 minute ago is what? Unmanifest now. And the minute which is yet to come is unmanifest now. It will become what? Manifest. The whole creation right now is nothing but what? Series of manifestation and unmanifestation. This is how the whole universe is. The cells that are in your body, which are yet to come, are unmanifest now, and they will what? Come into being what? Next second, new cell is generated. It will become manifest. And the cell which is here today will disappear. Constantly, while your body is there is constant change. There is no point at which anything in the universe is static. There is a constant shift from manifest to the unmanifest. Constant. Within that constant shift, what appears to us is what? Stability, constantness. But that's only an illusion. If you had a different program in your eyes, where you can see all the minute changes that are taking place in your body, what would you? You will see the world completely differently. And if you could see the eye with your eyes, the rate at which the whole galaxy is moving, the view of the world will be totally different. But they are moving. Within that moving, there is seeming stability. Okay? So there is a constant change from manifest to the unmanifest. It is something, if it is happening now, then you can easily postulate that before this whole universe became manifest, there must be unmanifest. It must be there in an unmanifest. And logically, only that is a possibility, because everything cannot come from nothing. So this is where the karma in your account are numerous, without any beginning. So as long as you make this mistake that you are this little physical body and the mind, and you continue to act and you have the causes, you are caught in this cycle of birth and death forever.
But aren't you saying that there is a cycle, but you have to free yourself from it?
Exactly. So that means by knowing your true nature, which is even independent of the causal body. So now this is what is Atma? It is said to be free from physical body, subtle body, and also a causal body. Right? How do you, because, why are you free from the causal body? Because what is the relationship you have with karma? Tell me. Are you the karma or you are the one who is performing karma?
You're the performer.
You are the performer of the karma. So that means you are independent of something that you do.
No, you are doing it.
You are doing karma. That's true. But the thing is, karma, you have to pre-exist in order to do something.
You're not the action.
You are not the action. You
You're
perform
performing the action.
Exactly. So you're not the action. Okay? So if you're not the action, you also cannot be the result of the action. Yeah. So that means you're also free from the causal body. This is inquiry. Because until you undertake this inquiry, you are what? You're caught in the cycle of birth and death. The minute you use Vedanta to undertake inquiry about the true nature of I, and you discover your true nature, what do you discover? That you are free from even the causal body. And this is why, as Saloni says, what we are talking about is moksha means I really come to know my true nature and not this mistaken identity that I have. I remove this very fundamental ignorance that I have about my nature.
Small problem understanding that.
Sorry?
If you are not,
So, what?
we spoke about seen and unseen.
Yes.
Reality or reactions. So, if you are, so you do an act. So you are performing an act, and then there is seen and there is unseen consequences. The seen being the guilt, the joy, the whatever it may be. The unseen being this creation of experiences which allow you to experience life. But if you say that you are not the action, yes, that is correct. But you are the performer, and in being the performer, you are not appreciating what is right, up and good, what you said earlier, that there are laws of nature. So you know that you don't want to be lied to, you know you don't want to be hurt, so you should not do the same.
That's it.
So you are creating those actions.
Yeah. So those causes, what it says, that now let's look at this. Anirvachya Anadi. Okay? So it is Anadi, it is something which is without
start.
any start, right? And what is the nature? It is avidya rupa. It is avidya rupa means it is this whole thing of physical, subtle and causal body will remain until the time that what? You remove your avidya. Avidya means ignorance. Okay? Because we come to this world thinking that I am an individual, I am the doer, I use my free will to perform an action, I am bound by the result of that. Now what Vedanta is showing me is that this particular position is true. I mean, it's true for everyone, but the reality that you are is much more than this individual. So as long as you think you are an individual performing an action, you are bound by all three: causal, physical and subtle. But the minute you remove the ignorance about who you are not subject to any of it. So that means in order to free yourself from these effects of the causal body, you need to know your true nature. So we have not yet come to what is our true nature. Okay? So that means right now we are only negating what we are not. Okay? The logic for negating you are not the causal body is, as Shona says, you have to first exist in order to perform action. You are not the action. You exist and then you perform an action. Right? So you are much more than an action. So this is something that if you get stuck at the level of causal body, then that is also a wrong point to put your eye in. So most of the time when people are talking about Atma or soul or Jiva, they are talking about this causal body which goes from one body to the other. What Vedanta is talking about is this is not the ultimate reality about you. It is there till the time you come to know what the true nature of yourself. So what is the true nature will be revealed later on. Right now we are only negating what we are not. And we are giving logic as to why you are not all of this, that you think you were, due to avidya, which is what ignorance. Yes?
So basically, in order to free yourself from this causal body, you have to remove your ignorance.
Excellent. Yes.
Of what your nature
What your nature is. Absolutely. Because until you remove that ignorance, you are bound by this, or the whole model applies for you. Exactly. And there is no way out of it. What you are saying is 100% right.
But isn't your nature what you do? Isn't that the causal event of your actions? And like, for example, if you discuss somebody's nature, so say they're kind, why are they kind? Because of their actions. Isn't it actually very related to concept?
See, now this is a very good question. So when we make statements about people, okay, we talk about somebody being compassionate, somebody being kind, somebody being mean, somebody being, I don't know, whatever statements that we make, where do these characteristics belong?
The action.
In the nature of mind.
Nature of mind.
Because the mind, as we saw, it has 4 different functions. What are the different functions we saw? It's emotions, it has cognitive capacity, it has memories, and it has what? It eyesight. So, if some human being is made some effort to put one's emotions in place and not live from a distorted emotion, we call this person what? Mature human being. And let's say this person has tried to cultivate one emotion of care or kindness. We will call this person what? Kind person. Every characteristic that you give to this person, it is true, we are not denying it, but it belongs where? To Sukshma Sharira, not to really the nature of mind. The true nature of mind is much more than that. So there is some truth in that. We are not denying the truth, but it's not the absolute reality.
And it's also impermanent.
So it is impermanent.
Because you're kind one day and then
Yeah,
Or you can be a good
absolutely.
person and a completely corrupt person.
Yeah.
And it's so random.
And also one person's kindness is another person's cruelty.
Yeah. So that's why it is constantly changing.
And
This
then-
identity that we give to ourselves, we think is a stable identity, is actually under constant flux. And there is no categorical statement. There is no human being who is only kind. Or there is no human being who is only mean. There is no human, we are all mixture of everything. One minute you are very kind, next minute you can be very angry. Because they are all variables. Who are you? You are not those variables. Why? Because those variables come and go. Are you going and coming? If you went, you would not even know what the next thing which comes. The very fact that you know all the different changes means what? You are invariable. You are aware of all the different changes that are taking place. You survive all the changes. And you are free from all the changes. Up to now, how many different kinds of different emotions you have felt? How many? Zillions of emotions. That any of those emotions are sticking to you right now, that means you are already free. Because if they were sticking to you, you can never get rid of them. They are variable, they are changing. You are that unchanging reality. This is what Vedanta comes out. But there is a mistake that we all do because of avidya. Avidya is ignorance. We constantly take ourselves to be that variable entity which actually is not our true nature.
So you're saying our true nature is a neutral space in a sense.
So I will explain because it comes.
Okay.
First, after having said who you are not, it explains very clearly who you are. Right? So that means there is a whole methodology. Initially what it has to do is to remove your misconceptions, because you already think of yourself as all this. It has to show you this is not what you are. Then it shows you who you are. So it shows. It's not leaving it vague. Don't worry. There's a big analysis of who you are and why you are what you are. So that is coming. It's coming. Okay. Now, it says now if you are not Karana Sharira, then there is another way. Now this is 1:45. What time till what time do I need to teach?
Classes
Till
till
1?
1.
Classes till. Now, Avastha Trayate. So that means now you are not, what did you see, what you are not up to now? Physical body you are not, subtle body you are not, and causal body also you are not. Okay? Now it makes you see who you are not from another standpoint. Okay? Because most of us, when I ask you to describe who you are, all the things that you talk about as who you are is with reference to what? Who you think you are in a waking state. Right? Because everything that you think that you are, it's all a description with reference to the waking state. What is with your physical body, your mind that is in the waking state, this is what you think you are. Okay? So here it says that you are also independent of the individuality that you experience through Jagrat, Swapna and Sushupti Avastha. Jagrat is waking, Sushupti is deep sleep, and Swapna is dream. Okay? So here he explains that Jagrat Avastha ka. What is this waking state? So here he says, Shotradi Gnanendriyehi Shabdasi Vishayaha Nayante iti yatsa Jagrat Avastha Stula Sharira Abhimani Atma Vishwaha iti Uchyate. So now, what is Jagrat Avastha is described as that you have your 5 sense organs. You have your eyes, you have your ears, you have your taste, you have your smell and touch. Okay? And then there are corresponding objects outside. So for your eyes you have forms, for your ears you have sounds, for your tongue you have taste, your nose you have smells, and your sensation of touch, you have all different kinds of sensation of touch. So that means in the waking you interact with the world. Because among all the different forms attract me and different forms attract you. So we are all chasing the forms that we get attracted to. And then what happens? We try to manipulate the world in a way that we can maximize our benefit. We can get what we want and we can avoid what we don't want. And what is our capacity to always get what we want and avoid what we don't want? Are we always successful? No.
It's limited by our own.
It's limited. And because it is limited and you feel that your happiness comes from manipulating them to suit your needs, will you ever be happy? Because you are basically in a losing game. You are trying to control things over which you basically have no control. So this is where this whole waking person is a personality. this waking person is not just a simple person who is looking at using five sense organs and engaging in the world, because that engaging leads to a lot of dissatisfaction and lot of conclusions. And the conclusions become the world views. Okay? You have certain basic implicit conclusion: life is not fair. That you are a victim of circumstances. I'm a failure. I'm no good. Okay? So many conclusions based on your experiences and how you engage in the world, in the waking state, and the feedback that you get from the world in the waking state. Now, it is asking you, are you really this waker? If you were basically the waker, the waking individual, waking personality will always stay with you. You go to the state of deep sleep. Any of your worries that you are carrying in the waking state, sorry?
They're still there.
They are not, you don't experience from, you are free from it. Then you are completely free from it. And deep sleep is not that. Really not that. This is why, in fact, the medical science understands it very clearly. That's why if you have too much stress, what they will do? They put you to sleep. Because that's when you find yourself completely free from all the worries that you are carrying. A lot of them, all these, they sedate. That is a very easy way to free yourself from all the worries that you are carrying. Okay? But Vedanta shows something, uses this experience to say that if you were the waker, okay, then not only while in waking things are changing, but that whole waker personality is completely given up in the deep sleep. You are completely free from all the worries and anxieties and frustrations and everything. You completely shed the whole thing in deep sleep. What does it say about your nature? Are you this waker? If that was your intrinsic nature, you will never be able to find yourself as being free from it. The very fact that this waker that you think is so real, which is you, in 24 hours, how many hours that waker is not available to you? At least 10. So 10 hours you find, let's say 8. Okay, let's keep it 8.
Yeah, what you're thinking.
8 hours you find yourself completely free of this personality that you make yourself to be so real. So that means the waking state is only a state, and the personality that you are so connected to is only given to you for a few hours in that day. What connects, why does it still give you a feeling of stability? Your memories. Right? You carry forward the minute you wake up from dream. It seems, as Nandita is saying, as though keep it. Why do you think that she was saying that we have to keep it? Because we have memories, right? The functions are there. So when we wake up again, we carry what the same memories, same knowledge that we've acquired, which was unmanifest, becomes manifest. And we continue as though the same person. We don't change every day, right? We don't change our personality. So these functions of the mind give us that continuity. The semblance of that continuity which actually is not there. Okay? So the waker you are free from. What about dreaming? Okay, the waking is, sushupti is happening, but you are free from being the waker. Then he is saying, swapna avastha ka. You have not only waking state, you have what we call the dream state. He is explaining what is dream state. He says, swapna avastha ka iti chet jagrat avasthayam yad drushtam yad shrutam tat janita vasanaya nidra samaye yaha paranchaha pratiyate सा स्वप्न अवस्था सूक्ष्म शरीर अभिमानी आत्मा तेजसः इति उच्यते. What is a swapna avastha? He says that in waking state, whatever you have seen, yat drushtam, yat shrutam, whatever you have seen, whatever you have heard, okay, that is stored in your memory. Okay. And in the dream, what happens? Those stored memory create one whole picture, the whole world. You create what? Dream time, dream space, dream mountains, dream rivers, dream characters, and all the interactions take place, and all the different experiences take place in the dream state. Okay. And where is the whole origin? Origin is only based on your memories of what?
Of what you saw in your waking
In the
state.
way, exactly, of what you saw in your waking state. Are you the dreamer also? No. Why? It's very easy. Nobody actually defines oneself as a dreamer, right? You don't define your personality based on what you dreamt of yourself as 2 days ago. You don't define yourself. But why here it is said that you are not what? The waker, and you are also not the dreamer. Why? Because these are all avasthas. They are all states. And you are constantly shifting from what? One state to the other. And who are you? Are you any of the states? No. You are the invariable presence which is there, which is undergoing different states. So the waking state comes, it goes. The dream state comes, it goes. And in fact, in dream, even though, do you know what is the physical duration of a dream? Within few seconds, you can dream what? As though years have passed.
Wow.
The time dimension is completely different in the dream. What happens for few seconds in the dream, while in the dream, it seems like what?
It's very real.
It's very real and it's very long. Okay? This is also what this whole thing of relativity of time is, because the time does not operate exactly the same way. It's not a linear kind of a thing at all. Okay? So that means that even this state of dream is something which comes and goes. The waking comes and goes, the dream comes and goes. Then what is the third state? Sushupti. Okay? So neither you are the waker, nor you are the dreamer, nor you are what?
The deep sleep.
The deep sleeper. Because these are variables, they come and they go. Who are you? If you were one of them, then what? That person would continue, that experience or that personality would continue in all three states. You can't get rid of it. The very fact that each one is distinct from the other, it all cancels it out. And you are none of them. Okay? So here he says that tataha sushupti avastahaka. So you are not the waker, you are not the dreamer, and you are also not the deep sleeper. So here he is asking this question, what is this sushupti avastha? What is this state of deep sleep? Okay. Here he says, aham kim api na janami sukhena maya nidrat anubhulyate iti sushupta avastha. In the waking state, you have all three bodies. You have physical body, you have subtle body, and you have the concept body with you. Okay? So therefore, it seems like the most complete person. In dream, do you have your physical body with you? You actually don't. You create a new physical body in dream. That's why the physical pain that you have, in a dream character, you will not carry forward that physical pain. So that means that in this, of course you need to be in the physical body, but in the dream world, you don't use the physical body, you use the dream body. Okay? And that is what we say, there is no physical body, there is only mind. The mind has created this whole world. So that means there is only Sukshma Sharira and there is a causal body. So in the waking state, all three bodies, Sthula, Sukshma and Karana are available to you. In dream, only Sukshma and Karana is available to you. In deep sleep, what happens? Either Sthula or Sukshma is available to you. The mind is not available to you in deep sleep. In deep sleep means you are completely resolved. Okay? That's why in deep sleep you don't think, oh, I'm now really relaxing. It's only when you wake up you say, oh, I had really good sleep and I was undisturbed. That means in deep sleep you have what? Only causal body available.
Okay. How would you even have causal body?
You would, yeah, you have causal body because that will then give rise to the next day. That's a connecting link between coming back and again connecting. What is going to be tomorrow is all there as a potential in the causal. So it is unmanifest, but it will manifest next day with new experiences.
But your subtle body is there in deep sleep. So you're breathing, you are...
Yeah, that's true. But you are not aware of that. It's true. It is working. The physical body is also there, right? But you are not aware of the subtle functions of your body. So that's why all your pains and everything you are not aware of.
But in a dream state, your physical body is
Not there, but your subtle is there because you've created the whole
From
world
memory.
and from the memory and all the interactions are going on. And those interactions are producing emotions in dream.
you wake
Yeah,
up upset.
you wake up upset or you say that today was a wonderful dream and sometimes it's a nightmare or whatever, right? So that means your subtle is there, your awareness is there.
So when you meditate, would it be trying to get into one of these, the last state? Or that's...
No, in fact, no. When the way that Vedanta uses meditation, we don't try to get into any state as such. What we try to see is the reality about ourselves as being free from all. Because states are variable. They keep changing. They exist within time and space. So there is very much in fashion for people to think that they have to get into a deeper state. But what Vedanta says is you are free from all states. Who you are is much bigger than any states because states are variable. Even if you get into a so-called deep state in meditation, how long does it last? Half an hour, 1 hour? Okay? So that means that then you are gone? No. You are this invariable presence which is free from all the different states, which is much bigger than what you had ever imagined. So the premise of Vedanta is slightly different. And we use meditation to make you see that invariable presence which is free from all different states. That's how we do it. So here he says, Aham kimapi na janami sukhena maya nidrat anubhuyate iti sushupta avasthaha. Okay? So that means one is, that's where it says, Karana Sharira Abhimani Atma Prajna Uchate. In deep sleep, only the causal body is available to you. Nothing else. The physical body is not there in your awareness. It's there, but it's not there in your awareness. And even the subtle body is not there. Okay? So now you are what? Now we are not trying to mug it all up. Which are the three avasthas? What are we trying to understand? That I am not any of these three things that I think that I am. Okay? Because things are variable. And within waking also there is variation. From 1 minute to the other there is a variation. And who are you? The observer of all the different variations. You are not the variations. Because if you were the variations, then what? Who will know the coming and going of the different variations? So this is what you are not. You are neither physical, subtle or causal body. You are also not what? The waker, the dreamer or sleeper. They are all just given within this 24 hours. They give what? They stay with you for a certain while. And while they stay, there is a constant change. Within that constant change, there is seeming stability. Then, who are you again still not? So the next set he says, before he tells you who you are, he negates one more thing, and that is what he says, Panchakosha. So that we will do next time. Okay? 5 locus of error. This is almost a repetition, but he's just putting it slightly differently so that to cover some other aspects that we will see next time. Okay? Then we will go into who you are. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti